Ironically, this year is a phenomenal year for me because a lot of things I worked on for several years have actually turned out to be pretty well.
Yeah, but you got to take risks and you got to fail.
Yeah.
You can't be afraid to fail because then the level set like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore.
Welcome to API Futures, a podcast by Ascend where we empower global leaders of tomorrow. Here's our guest host for this episode.
Welcome to API Futures by Ascend, where we empower global leaders of tomorrow. And I'm Franco Finn, media personality, hype man, and also an entrepreneur. I'm very familiar about your personal brand being out there in front of lots of people when you're out there hyping up crowds, as I do for many years for the Golden State Warriors and all the events that I do. But you know, we also quietly manage our own personal brand. I know many of us do that, right? And so we're going to learn about how you manage your personal brand and also building that equity and building our own talent. And so today I have a special guest and also a friend that I've gotten to know for quite some time now, the last couple of years, who spent his career exactly doing that, building his personal brand, building that equity around your brand. And this is Evan Louie. He's an entrepreneur. He's an investor. He's a community leader. Evan, so cool to see you here.
Good to see you, Franco.
I'm so excited. Right. Yes, when I saw
Vegas.
Who are we going to interview today, I said, Evan Louie. Well, I got to know this guy a couple years ago.
Yep.
Let's just dial it back there, but personal brand. We're going to talk about that. But when we first met, it was Las Vegas, right here, Super Bowl.
Yep. And you want to talk, when we first met, it was during the Lunar New Year event for the Super Bowl.
Which was epic.
Yeah, so...
and we'll talk about that. Okay. Let's say that. I want to know, let's set the stage first of all, because we have so much to cover and learn from you. But let's give the audience, just a one-sentence version, really of just what you do.
Okay.
That's going to be hard.
Oh, that's going to be a very long
bunch. We'll give you 2 sentences.
2 sentences about a brand, my personal brand, or what I actually do.
What do you do? Like, how can you
I would
elevator?
Say the best way to encompass it in like 2 sentences is just really about serving the community and empowering the AANHPI or Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander community through venture philanthropy. Probably the easiest way to say it.
Venture philanthropy.
And that's why I want to use that term.
I like that term, venture philanthropy. Okay, well, let's rewind. Let's take it back to the beginning first. Okay. The young Evan Louie, all right? What were you doing before any of this? What was the moment that you realized that you wanted to do something different?
I think it's a culmination of things, right? So it starts from on my Chinese side, and we're actually 6th generation Chinese Americans. And we actually have been advocating for Chinese Americans, Asian Americans in the media for over 100 years. Even down to my daughter's generation. She's the 6th, I'm the 5th. On the Pacific Islander side, I'm actually half Chamorro from Guam as well. And a lot of this started in, following the family legacy. I went to San Francisco State University. I actually studied ethnic studies, took Asian American studies. And one of the 10 founders of the first Pacific Islander-based fraternity, the Greek system, that taught Melanesian, Micronesian, Polynesian culture, but really built up civic leaders. So I think that kind of the pride of being Asian American Pacific Islander roots from. But what really made me passionate about making a difference is kind of a sad story. I think you know a little bit about it.
You shared with me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I got married in 2007. My wife was, after 4 months after married, 7.5 months pregnant with my daughter Sivan. She was diagnosed with brain cancer. It's called glioblastoma multiforme, or GBM stage 4. Okay. Prognosis is typically about 18 months. So I lived in hospitals. My daughter was born a premature baby, and she passed away in 2008. I moved out here to raise my daughter, and honestly, anything that someone ever deals with in that type of extreme was very painful, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and I came here to recover. But then I always take this coined term called the art of pain transference. I took what those things are that affected me, the passion to make a difference for people that are afflicted by cancer, making a difference in healthcare and education, raising my daughter here in Nevada. So that really was the impetus, or that catalyst that made me driven to make a difference, not just for myself and my daughter raising here in the education system, but for everyone here who lives here in Nevada. And so I got very involved in politics, civic engagement, business leaderships, but it's all driven about transformational change and making an impact here.
Making an impact. And this is what it's about. And I'm so glad thank you for being so transparent and honest about your personal story. You know, it's never easy to share that, but sometimes from those experiences, this is what makes who you are and what inspires you. And so thank you for being honest with us on that. And let's start with, your personal brand. We all walk around with our own personal brand, whether we like it or not. We are a walking billboard of our brand. What people see is what people either buy into or not, and it's the perception of your own personal brand. Looking back, what was that first talent or that skill, if you will, that people really started paying attention? Like, oh, Evan Louie, he's this kind of guy. What was that moment?
I would say skill and talent, but it's also perception. So
Okay.
one thing I think is really important, and little side story, I was named Those Who Create Change in Nevada by a lot of the elected officials in Nevada, and unsung hero by all the media.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so somebody asked me this, who was actually one of my mentors. This is after 2 years of being involved in the community.
Yeah.
And she said, what made you become, like, I'm born and raised here. You came here 2 years ago.
Right.
How does that happen? And I said, you know how it happens? And I know it's going to break down to really simple things. It's integrity. And I said,
right.
Because in business, in the way you carry yourself, the assurances that you make, you have to deliver on that. And I said, one thing I noticed when I moved here is that a lot of people, whatever context that is, lack that integrity. And if you're there to make a difference and serve the community and make, whether it's in business or however that may be,
right.
just deliver on the words and assurances you make. I mean, my grandmother raised me to say action speaks louder than words. So I think integrity is really important.
Absolutely.
But a skill set, in what you're mentioning, is really it's interpersonal communications and being able to cultivate strong relationships and getting on a personal level and getting to know people past the surface of, I'm going to exchange business cards
Right.
with you. I want to sit down with you. Let's have dinner. I want to understand what your passions are. What are your dreams? What are the things? How can I help you connect and align with your career path and trajectory path? So, I think that's what it is that really is building trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
You're not just a transaction.
Yeah, it's relationships.
Trust. It's relationships. And people, I go through that all the time. It's like, gosh, so many people, this and that. Well, it takes time to cultivate relationships. You get to know them. You break bread with them. You play golf with them, whatever it is. Sing karaoke, which that's how I got to know you during the fun Super Bowl weeks that we spent over here. And that's where you kind of build that integrity, that trust, and that rapport. Well, thanks for sharing on that. Were there any, people that you looked up to, that you model?
Oh, yeah. So, it starts with my grandmother growing up. And she always said it's important to know the legacy and lineage of our family, and being proud of our family and what we've done historically.
Yep.
And she was the one that used a lot of very cliched terms, but that stuff stick with me. It's remember what my great-great-grandfather did, or great-grandfather. And the other thing is having a lot of mentors.
Yeah.
I learned that, a lot of my mentors are actually Asian females, Asian women.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The majority of them are, actually. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, that's weird. Probably 80% of them are.
Actually, me too. I could
started
with my mom, number one.
Female leaders, and I even have mentors that are younger than me, older than me.
Yeah.
I don't see, to the way I interpret a mentor, somebody who has a specific field of knowledge or subject matter expert that knows that better than anyone else. They could be an expert, leading expert in the country, the world, whatever it is. And I just want to pick your brain, and I'd be able to pick up the phone, call you, and just understand context of knowledge from you. And typically, I respect that with a lot of people I meet. I think they each have a certain subset of knowledge that you can learn from.
Oh, yeah. I think I have a lot of Asian women too that are my mentors. Maybe I'm just listening. They tell me to do this. I said yes. I just say yes. I trust them. They know what they're doing.
Matriarchs.
And the matriarchs in our family, for sure. I can relate to that. Was there any risk that you maybe took early on in your career, maybe in hindsight, taking a look back, a turning point, if you will, that you can remember? You shared something in your personal life. It was a turning point. Was there anything like that, another moment that you can share?
Honestly, I take risks every day, and risks for me is just part of living. And one thing I know a lot of visionaries and CEOs, or anyone in entrepreneurship is going to tell you that embrace failure, right?
Oh, yeah.
And in my context, failure is, I don't even see failure. It's a learning. If you quote unquote fail, right?
Yeah.
It's a learning experience. You learn how to reapply disciplines and fundamentals to say, oh, okay, I learned from this. Now I know how to reapply myself in this scenario, as a situation where I can do better, right? And it's like a process of self-cultivation. You're always constantly learning and improving and bettering yourself. And so it's like personal development. But I would say whether it's in business, I've taken tons of risks. I've funded film. I've launched ventures. I've invested in companies. I've lost a lot of money in companies.
Like lose a lot.
Learning lesson.
That is a big lesson.
I know.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side of it, I've also exited and successively things that I've worked several years on. And ironically, this year is a phenomenal year for me because a lot of things I worked on for several years have actually turned out to be pretty well.
Yeah, but you got to take risks and you got to fail. You can't be afraid to fail because then the level set like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore, and I got to do this, right?
And there's a term, at least I learned in business school, that kind of the old corporate term. It's called BHAGs. Have you ever heard of BHAGs?
BHAGs, no.
Big, hairy, audacious goals. Right, and if you know an older generation of C-suites, they're going to tell you, oh, it's a BHAG. So all that is just like, shoot for the stars type of approach. Like, Amazon uses the approach of think bigger.
Think bigger,
right?
Yeah.
So for me, a lot of the things, what I notice about, I'm going to say generally in society, but most people say that's not attainable. Like I can't accomplish this. But the reality is, it's all frame of mind. Right. You aspire to do this, you figure out the contingency plans, the approach to do it. And it's those visionaries that are the ones actually accomplishing what the rest of the world doesn't believe can happen. Even the co-founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, used to say those who are crazy enough to change the world are often the ones that do. Right.
That's right. Awesome. Well, let's talk about the wins. There's so many great things that you've done in our community, some great accomplishments. I mean, I don't even know where to start with this stuff. I mean, actually, I remember one time I was calling, he goes, wait, I'm at the White House right now. I'm like, what? At the White House with the president? What's going on? API month? I'm like, man, Evan, where are you not? And you're a man on the move. Talk about some of the wins, some of the, like the biggest achievements in your mind, like the highlights. And there's so many, I know, and I've been doing some research. You've done so many great things, but in your career, what are some of the ones that really stand out the most that you're really proud of? Is there one specifically that really just says, this one moment was, that was a big one for me?
So I'm going to narrow it down to a year, and it's the year that we met.
Which was that Super Bowl week in Vegas, right?
Yeah, so
24.
Yeah, at the time, I was on the community advisory board of Legion Stadium. I served on the board for a couple of years, and then also was the Las Vegas Super Bowl host committee.
Yeah.
And had a good relationship or strong relationship with the NFL. And one thing that we realized is that when it came to the NFL, we never saw the perception of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders as part of the Super Bowl experience. And we're like, how do we change that narrative or interpretation of it? And because I kind of wore the hats of being the Super Bowl host and the board of the stadium where the Super Bowl was at, I was like, okay, well, maybe we can put this into some type of schedule or official itinerary of the Super Bowl host committee. Fortunately, it all came together.
I know, that was huge.
And you're there, and it was massive because it wasn't just like an Asian American event. It was at the Formula One paddock.
It was huge.
And it was like World Series of Poker, EDC, NASCAR, like
I was
MGM at Raiders.
It was never been done before.
Yeah, that was the first year. It was an inaugural
night
year.
Market,
it was a night market concept. Everybody who came to the event, because it was also the media after party for the Super Bowl, right? And all the journalists were there. It was like a couple thousand. And it was 3 stories. And the interesting thing is, if they had to go somewhere, the performances, the main stage was the night market.
Yeah.
All the food was all Asian. So and so that was, to me, just making a footprint of the Super Bowl itself. But it wasn't just that event, because that was historical. For me, it was like,
huge.
Now we're kind of that Super Bowl experience, right? And we continue the legacy. In Santa Clara and San Francisco, Mark, I'm sure you're at the Chinatown
mutual
beach.
friend. That's how I
and then now we're working on Los Angeles in 2027. But that year was also when we partnered with Gold House. First of all, going back to that event, we partnered with 25 national organizations across the country. I wanted to make it inclusive, where Gold House and TAF and Asian American Journalists Association and Asian Hustle Network, you name it, all came out to be a part of that experience. But then secondly, we also turned the Las Vegas sign gold in partnership with Gold House, one of the Gold Lights campaign. And we brought out celebrities and really saying, hey, it's Heritage Month in May, but we want to use a Welcome Las Vegas sign, because when you welcome, it's symbolic, right? When you welcome to the city, you're seeing the Asian American Pacific Islander community, our celebrities, our sports execs. We now on year 3. The third thing we did that year is also hosted the first inaugural summit for AAPI Lead. And what AAPI Lead, which I just came from that convention or summit just the other day, consists of all our Asian American, Pacific Islander, local, state, and federal electeds in the United States. This is from mayors, senators, Congress, governor, whatever, attorney generals. And it's a huge convening we do every year. That happened the first year in Vegas in 2024.
What a big year that was.
Yeah, and then the fourth thing.
That was, okay.
Yeah. And then we brought out all the national Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander leaders from all over the country, flew them out, put them up in a hotel to first do an event with the White House. And that was through White House initiatives for Asian American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders, which is the President's Advisory, led by the Executive Director, Chris Ka'ai. And so that was great for the NHPI community to have this. So that all happened in 1 year. So we made history 4 times.
The year I met you was the biggest year that really set the tone. It was amazing because I didn't even know who you were. You know, I went through one of my friends, Catherine, and then Mark was like, yeah, let me talk to Evan. Let me see if I get you. And all of a sudden, I'm here in Vegas for this one night. Amazing night. Met so many folks in our community. Like, I'm talking from Kelly Hu, Chris Pang. I mean, we met Christy Yamaguchi, was my local, we live in the Bay Area. We were all here together. And we all met. And when you spoke out there, I was like, wow, there's something special in this room right now. And it started right here. And you are a huge part of it. How many months, I would say, of planning? How long did it take? Because that was a huge
There's
undertaking.
a crazy story, so, and I don't want to bash on the planning of it, but a lot of times they only give you about a month and a half notice
which is
put that together. It's like
unreal.
Yeah, so it was, and there's a fundraising and sponsorship component, so I just didn't sleep for
unbelievable. It was a big year, but you really worked for it.
Pulled it off.
You pulled it off. Amazing. Thank you so much.
It's a BHAG.
It's a BHAG. That's right. We just learned that term for some of those who don't know. So when you break success, when you break that success down here, how much of that was skills? How much was it timing, and is it relationships? Really, it's all really relationships that we were just talking about. When you build that rapport and relationships, it's a phone call.
And it's credibility too.
And the credibility, right? The reputation. It's all about that. How much, you would say 90% is relationship?
Yeah, I would say heavy relationship, heavy credibility if you're partnering with the NFL or the Super Bowl host committee, because a lot of that is your brand, right? Yeah. And they look at the historical, what type of track record did this person have? Have they done major events? Yeah. And by then I was very well acclimated to the community. We've I've sat on several boards, and a lot of the stuff that we do, whether it's specifically Asian American Pacific Islander focus or just philanthropy in general.
Right.
I advise the president of the College of Southern Nevada, Dr. Stacy Klippenstein, for higher education, K through 12 education. We built STEM programs that are really helping elevate our next generation of leaders. And so when you establish that credibility, people know that you're going to come through and deliver.
Yeah. Oh, the NFL too. You have to get their blessing to get all that. Yeah. They don't move like that. But you made that happen with in that short amount of time. Impressive. You talked about equity here, companies in community. How do you think about building equity in yourself, in your own name and reputation? The same way you evaluate, let's say, an investment.
Investment, a lot of it, I get say venture or angel investment, right? Is a lot of it's you're investing in people. Right. You're investing in the founder, its executive management, its team. What is their vision? What is their philosophy? Is it somebody who's adaptable to change and to listen, or are they very headstrong and set in their ways? What is their historical track record? Have they exited companies in the past? Right. Do they have a good GTM or go-to-market strategy? Right? Yeah. Can they raise capital? Right? There's a lot of things that dynamics of looking when you're investing in a company. Side story I was talking about earlier, became a partner in the Heyman, right? Yeah. And they do Golden State Warriors. Yes. We just did the NBA Summer League here in Vegas for Phoenix Sun ownership. Just did the World Cup. I can't announce the third one, but it's something, can't be public yet, but it's something that involves NFL stuff.
Big, it's big, yeah.
And then we've done all kinds of things, and it's great because we're really building a footprint. It's actually based out of Los Angeles. We're building up the second headquarters here in Las Vegas, and really trying to work with a lot of sports teams and corporate. The cool thing is they also did Jensen Huang's NVIDIA sweater too, so it was kind of cool. Yeah, we did NVIDIA, Adobe, and stuff, and
that's huge.
What I love about it is it integrates the relationships with the sports teams. There's a very strong relationship with all our teams here, whether it's the Raiders. And speaking of Raiders, the Raiders president is half Korean. First Black and Asian female president.
Met her at
Sandra Douglas Morgan.
Amazing. What a top boss there here with the Raiders. met the Super Bowl week, right? That was insane. Yeah.
But yeah, you're looking at companies, I think you have to evaluate, who its leadership.
Yeah.
They're all stakeholders.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You're also known as a community leader, not just an investor. Let's talk about the community side of things. How is showing up for your community, the feedback that you're getting from folks, in this area and beyond, like the waves that you're making in the community? Share with us, the strategy, like when you approach community, what's the first thing that you do? How do you approach it? And, how do you get the word out and that sort of thing?
It's all coalitions. It's about supporting each other. And so, people know by now, but like even Ascend, for example, I helped program a lot of the leaders or speakers for this convention. But people don't know, I actually do that for a lot of our national organizations all over the country. And so this is actually my third summit this week. We just came from an API lead with all our electeds. Where, Janet Yang spoke, the Academy Motion Pictures, Adele Lim from Writer, Crazy Rich Asians, Kevin Nishimura from Kakao Business, and Eric Chan from Gap, right? The chief business officers. And so what I see is the interconnectivity, right? So you have API lead, and then I did JP Morgan Summit right before that. Is that all of us travel and it's like I could just find it as a high school. Like there's little cliques.
Like high school,
but the reality is like we all congregate in cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Vegas, Chicago, DC,
We see the same,
New York.
The same folk. This
It
is.
is.
Same faces
It is. It's a high school.
Doing the thing. It's a high school.
It's a high school.
Doing things for the community.
But
I love
it's about
that.
supporting each other. It's not about competing with your organization. Each one has their kind of focus. But my biggest passion, which I've been talking a lot on national platforms, is I'm building a national Asian American Pacific Islander endowment fund.
An endowment fund.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know organizations like TAF exist, and I'm very supportive of its leadership, and a lot of my friends there. We're there to augment that. Right, and try to identify the niches that we can help support our C3 infrastructure across the country. We've built a think tank already, and it comprises of very well-respected national leaders. But the reality is, it's needed, so being a support mechanism and really building partnerships and coalitions, and know that we care about the same thing, about elevating and empowering our national community.
Yeah, and I'm seeing your name pop up in so many different places, all over the community, all the way from Las Vegas. I'm in California. I'm like, Evan Louie. I knew Evan Louie was part of that. I knew Evan was part of that. And thank you for your continued work and to keep empowering that way. Let's segue here to our last portion here, is talking about, some of the lessons, reinvention, some things we could take away from this. Careers just, they don't sustain themselves in just one era of success. What have you had to unlearn to rebuild as your industry has changed around you? How do you evolve in this ever-changing landscape,
How do you evolve? Well, you have to have an adaptive mindset, right?
Okay.
And you have to take risks. I mean, everyone's to say it's very risk heavy. But, the key word I would say that would delineate or differentiate is fearless, right? Honestly, and I tell this to people all the time, is like, I knew nothing about sports and knew nothing about fashion, became before a part of a team with Amen.
Right.
Like immerse yourself, embrace it, do something that challenges you. Where I often see people say, "Oh, I majored in this field, so I don't know nothing. I don't want to. I'm intimidated to go in this knowledge." It's like, no, you should just jump knee deep into it, learn it, and I break it down to a process. It goes back to mentorship. Find the industry experts, the subject matter experts in that field, learn from them, study them, read their books, whatever that may be, or know them personally, where you can pick the phone and call them, shadow them, right? And then once you get a sense of, because at the end of the day, every business industry uses the same business models and fundamentals and practice. So just, do things that you're afraid of, because once you conquer those fears and those insecurities, your possibilities are limitless.
Absolutely. Well, the job market right now feels, unrecognizable to a lot of people, right? It's changing so much. AI, layoffs, those kind of things, roles disappearing. I mean, it's a different job market these days. How are you personally updating your own skills and also talents to, stay valuable in this environment? What are you doing?
A lot of it is, I often do a lot of studies. Like, since I was 18 years old, I actually used to study the biographies of successful, say, CEOs. I've studied anyone from Bill Gates to Warren Buffett to Andrew Grove, who's the founder of Intel, and just go there on the business side. Then I'd study business philosophy. But one thing that people don't really realize is important to study is actually psychology and interpersonal communications and philosophy. Because if you understand like critical thinking skills, for example, how to read people, right? You know, I'm serious. Like there's verbal and nonverbal mannerisms, voice inflections, you know, things like that, intonations, and the psychology of people. If you understand and have a strong social intellect, because there's academic intellect where, I got good grades in college.
Book smart.
Book smart, but social, I'll take a social intellect any day. Because the reality is, if I know how to build relationships, I know how to learn from people, I know how to read the room, I know how to pitch a value proposition, I know how to negotiate. Those
you're looking
things
at their expression. You're observing.
And it becomes subconscious when you've done it so many. Dude, I taught my daughter how to do it growing. Now she's like a debate champion in speech because she was raised
learn
around
from
it,
dad how to do it.
Yeah, you got to read the room, know the people you're dealing with, and the personal communications. And once you enhance that skill, you know, it's so applicable in any environment.
Absolutely. This is a masterclass right now, Evan. You are literally just spewing some knowledge and things that, I mean, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's totally. I'm learning as we go. And hopefully all of you are listening to some of this great advice, because this is really great advice for anyone in any business, really, to take in. But where can people follow you? Where can people actually, like, I don't even know where you are these days. I'm like, where is Evan Louie now? When I'm calling you, you're like, oh, I'm at the Wyatt. Oh, I'm at the this award show. I'm like, I'm with this person. I'm like, where can we
You know, it's funny,
find you?
I actually use Instagram a lot. So like,
but
I also post about things like, hey, you should attend this, or we're planning this. So I use, you know, social media as a platform to kind of promote things that are community centric.
Yeah.
Or things that I'll be.
Where can we follow? What's your handle?
It's Tamahil, Tamahil.
Where did that come from? I was like,
fraternity name. Yeah.
You know what? I was like,
I was named Tama Hilfiger, as in
oh
Tommy
my,
Hilfiger.
is that?
And so, because I used to work in merchandising when I was in college.
That's how he got that
Tommy
name.
Hilfiger, yeah.
And you just stuck with
I
that.
always wore Hilfiger, and so people like, so you're Tama, which is our fraternity name, Hilfiger.
Oh my goodness.
So it's Tama Hill is short.
I was looking up like, where's Evan? I can't find it, but I knew you because you shared your Instagram with me. I'm like, that's how you got that. So people can follow you there and follow you.
Yeah, I don't use LinkedIn as much. I update it periodically, but you know, I'm more of an IG guy.
Or an IG guy. You're not a TikTok guy?
That's my daughter.
Your daughter. Save it for that generation to do that kind of thing. Yeah. Well, we usually like to close with this on API Futures. What advice would you give your younger self?
Okay, so I would say, I did mention a little bit earlier, but a lot of it's getting the right mentors, or getting mentors, and even mentoring people, right? And I think that's typical, but I would also say explore and take risks and just absorb as much knowledge as possible. Right. Know that every day, because you know, when I was younger, honestly, I was afraid of public speaking. And
most people are.
That's why I took acting classes and communications classes. Yeah. But I think it's really important that you're able to exert or present yourself with confidence. Yeah. So I would say learn how to overcome those obstacles, those insecurities, and fears. And then secondly, find mentors and constantly get new mentors. There's not enough mentors in this world.
You can never get enough mentors. Yeah.
And then take risks, like I said.
Take risks. Yeah. But you were learning every day. Like and we're also evolving too. You know, what you learned maybe 5-10 years ago may not apply to today. There's still some things that do, but that's why having more mentors. Yeah, adding that. That is great advice to your younger self.
Invest in Amazon or Bitcoin and other
things. And that too. I'm telling you, that masterclass.
All the tech companies.
We'll save that for your actual masterclass. You know, let's produce that. My God, you have such a wealth of knowledge. You know what, Evan? Thank you so much for what you do in our community, first and foremost, really elevating our voices and being there and really putting us out there in such positive ways. You're amazing, my man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
You're very sharply dressed too, man.
Thank you.
You're looking good like that.
Secret spot.
I gotta ask you where you get your suits, man. You know,
the secret LA.
The secret spots. We'll have to talk about that. All right. You know what? Learning so much from you, Evan. Thank you so much for joining us on API Futures. It's been amazing. I'm Franco Finn. Great Evan Louie. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Ascend.
Yes. We'll see you next time on API Futures by Ascend.
Thanks for listening to API Futures, where we empower global leaders of tomorrow. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube.